Hello, this is Excel Part 1. And Excel is one of the most important software that you can learn. It's used extensively by businesses and all industries. So here are the things I'm going to cover in the Part 1 of this video right here. So when you first open up Excel, you'll be at this screen right here, and you'll have the option to do a blank workbook. Or you can use a template. So just click on more templates, and there are a ton of awesome templates that you can use to start your spreadsheet. Okay, so now I'm going to go to Workbook. And so the Excel file itself is called a workbook. And so a workbook can be composed of one or more worksheets, and you'll see these down here. So if you want to rename a sheet, just double click right there. I'm going to name it expenses. And then if you want to add another sheet, you do the plus sign right here. Okay, so now the zoom feature right here, if you need to zoom in to your numbers, is you can zoom right here, or if you're using a mouse, hold your control key and then do your scroll wheel, and you'll zoom in and out. Same way as that works with a lot of different software. Okay, so now right up here, this is the menu bar. And so when you click on one of the items in the menu bar, you'll see a toolbar underneath it change. And this is actually called the ribbon. So the toolbar is called the ribbon. Okay, the home toolbar or ribbon right here will have most of the things that you'll use for most popular things to use. Okay, so now right here, this is called the name box. And if you select a cell, notice that it shows you the address of that cell that you have selected here under the name box. And we'll go into more of that later on. Right here is called the formula bar. And this will show you the formula that is in Excel. And that's in a later video, is when we talk about formulas. Okay, and let's see. So a cell you can have text in it. You can put a number in Excel. Or a cell can have a formula, and we'll be going over formulas later on. But formulas are what do the calculations for you. And if you want to delete something, you can just select that cell and hit the delete key, and then it's gone. Okay, so now let's talk about navigating and selecting cells. I'm going to copy and paste some data into here that I have in a different spreadsheet. And so here's some data right here, and this is going to be my expenses. So the first thing I'm going to do is the columns here are going to be the months, January, February. But now instead of typing all the months, Excel has this neat little thing, this autofill feature. In the bottom right corner of the active cell, your cursor, you'll see a little black dot, and your cursor will go to a plus sign. And if you click and hold on that plus and drag it, it does the autofill. And what the autofill does is different depending on what you're dragging. So obviously, if I'm dragging the name of a month, it will autofill with the additional months. Let's say that I'm going to name this expense 1. And now in this case, I'm going to autofill down. Notice what it does. It increments the number for me automatically. Okay, so now let's talk about navigating. Here we've got a table of expenses. So let's say that you want to go to the bottom of this table right here. And so here it's easy enough. You can just click wherever you want to go. But the day will come that you have a spreadsheet that has hundreds of rows, maybe thousands of rows, 100 columns. And the way to navigate to get to the end, it will be a lot easier if you use your keyboard and hold the control key and then use your arrow keys. So right now I'm going to hold my control key and tap the right arrow. And that takes me to the far right. Now I'm still holding control. I'm going to do the down arrow, takes me down. Still holding control, do the left arrow and takes me back. Okay, so now as far as selecting, of course you can select stuff with your mouse, but if you can also select stuff by holding the shift key and doing your arrow keys. So I'm holding the shift key, and so now I'm selecting the stuff right just like that. And now let's say I want to select the entire row using the of course, you can click and hold and select it that way. But let's say it's very large and you don't want to, it has many columns, you don't want to use your mouse. Well, in this case, I can hold the shift and control, now tap my right arrow. And now I've just selected the entire row. Hold the shift and control and do the down arrow. And now I've selected all the way down. Now, another thing you can do is just click anywhere in a table and do the Control A, and that will select the entire table for you right there. Okay, so now let's talk about selecting non-adjacent cells or columns or rows. So if I click and hold and select this data right here, now I've let go of my mouse. Let's say I want to also select May column right here. Well, the way to do that is to hold the Control key and now click and hold, and now it adds to my existing selection right here. Now this may be something you want to do because I want to format these cells differently, or I want to do a chart with just this data right here. So just remember, after you've selected something, hold your Control key. Now you can add to that selection, just like that. Okay, now as far as rows and columns, let's say I want to delete a column. Let me just go row. I'm going to delete row number 1. If you just right click on that number 1 and hit delete, that will delete that right there. Same thing, you could right click and delete that, or I could right click and insert, and that inserts a new column right there. Okay, so now let's talk about formatting cells a little bit. Okay, so, first of all, I'm going to put a title up here. I'm just going to call this expense report. Hit enter. Now, as far as editing data, if you double click in a cell, now it puts your insertion point there, and so you can edit your data right there. You can also click in a cell and edit it up here on the formula bar. Okay, so 2 different ways to do that. Now, right here, I'm going to select that, what I just typed, expense report, and select all the way down here. And now I'm going to do this merge and center. So what that does is it merges all those cells together and centers whatever I had typed in there. And so this is a great thing to do for titles. So now let's talk about some of the formatting. So with formatting here, you can select the background color. So let's say I go black on the background color, foreground color, I'm going to go white. Of course, you can add bold, make it bigger, change the font, do all sorts of things like that. Now, another thing that you can do is we can add borders. Like if I select all of this right here, just to the left of the paint bucket, is borders. And so like I could do a thick outside border just like that. Okay, so, and of course we could add background shading in this whole thing. But I'll go ahead and do something. I'll just do I'll do a background shading for my data like that. And then, let me just do all of that for the rows and columns. I held the Control key to multi-select and then do some kind of background shading for that too. Okay, so that's just a little manual formatting you can do. Okay, so now some more formatting we can do is actually formatting the numbers. And this is this right here. So for example, this is an expense report. These are actually dollars. So if I select all of these numbers right here, I can just click on the dollar sign right here, and now it will format it for dollars. Okay, so perhaps since these are big whole numbers right here, since I formatted it for currency right here, it's showing 2 places past the decimal point. And of course, I still have all of this selected. So one thing you could do is move the decimal point back, wrong way. Move the decimal point back by clicking right here. And so that will decrease the number of decimal points. And like I said, since these are whole numbers, I don't really need the decimal point. Okay, here's if you could format that stuff for percentages. Now, if you want to do a lot of additional formatting, you can do some very advanced things. If you click this little box right here, number format. So right here, you can do all sorts of different types of formatting. And this would be a whole video to go into some of this stuff right here, what you can do with the formatting. Okay, but just the basic stuff you can do right here. Okay, so now that, I believe, sums up what I was going to cover on this first video. So I will see you on the next video.